Students must be able to pursue the application of basic theory and architectural knowledge. We ensure that the program is supported with a strong curriculum. Our design studios, as the core of our program, are complemented with compulsory and elective classes. Students should learn the aspects of design from theory, technology, history, and design methods.
Through our programs, we enable the students to learn in different ways. We create different opportunities and different learning environments. Some of them are class-based, such as the studio where the students can do their work and discuss with their peers. Some of them are lab-based, so the students are exposed and trained to do digital or manual craftsmanship. And then we expect them to go directly to the society, so they can go to the field. This usually apply in studio, where they engage with the nature, with different communities, which then expose them to even broader learning environment.
When I joined, I thought architecture is all about tangible aspects, like structures, materials, constructions, and how to build buildings. But in reality, the courses and the subjects are so different. Like we have courses that introduce us to see the intangible aspect of architecture. So it really makes me think that being an architecture student is really more than just learning how to design a building.
Our department is very keen to contribute in research and community engagements. Students from architecture and interior architecture courses are encouraged to apply their knowledge to the community. We also ensure the work is always done with positive dynamics, pitching new ideas, developing the work, and receive feedback whenever we can. We continuously pursue higher understanding of architecture elements through ever-developing research. Not only will this benefit the community that are directly affected by those programs, but it will also help students in their work life after they graduate.
The learning experience was intense, but in a fun way. We refer our knowledge of architecture not only from books or journal, we also learn through movies, art performance, sports. We also do field visit, which is like a construction site visit, public event visit, and many more, which bring us different perspective on how we see architecture.
I think the Universitas Indonesia graduates, they have the skills needed for the profession. I do believe they can feel all the possibilities in this design or construction world. Only few of them can make it to become a real good designer, but that doesn't mean that they cannot develop themselves into other spectrum of profession in construction work.
The students are actively engaged with various activities that is organized by the student unions with the full support from the faculty or the department. One of the example is excursion. The idea of the excursion is the students can learn about architecture from the various places in Indonesia and process of documenting vernacular architecture. So I believe that we can learn a lot from this process, from this excursion, that we live with the people, we talk to them, we observe them, how they live, how they do the activities and their engagement with the space. And at times, we as the students really try to live as the local world.
From this program, I expect to gain many knowledge of architecture, both theoretically and technically. And from that basic solid foundation, I hope I can continue my study into a higher degree and participate in creating Indonesia a better place someday in the future.
All of the programs in Department of Architecture, Universitas Indonesia will provide graduates with the skills needed for the work life. According to the GS and THE World University Ranking, our program is one of the best in Southeast Asia and ranked #1 in Indonesia. Together, we believe that our staff, along with all facilities, are ready to help students to achieve wonders. The Department of Architecture, Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Indonesia is ready to face the world of tomorrow.
So, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Welcome again in our webinar, Big Build It Green Series 12. So today, we will bring a very important issues, a very important themes in the current conditions. We will talk about lighting and sustainability with our two speakers, which are very professional in the field, and also one of the panelists who are also doing professionally about lighting and sustainability. So now, before we begin the webinars, it is held under the Department of Architecture, Universitas Indonesia, Faculty of Engineering. The sum of the terms and conditions applied also in this webinar. The first one is this webinar will be conducted in English. The participants are required to maintain courtesy in the live chat during the webinars. The participants are prohibited from writing anything that is not related to the webinars. 4, participants may only write questions on the Google form, and the link will be shared also on the YouTube channel. Thank you. So for all of the attendees, you can also ask questions. Don't worry, even though you are not online with us in the YouTube room, you can also send your questions. Please write down in the link given by the committee. Yeah. Also, thank you for those who already have registrations online in our link. You still need to do the confirmations in this link to get your certificate. Yeah. And also we would like to thank to our sponsorships. The first one is the Central Light, and also the second one, the Signify. Thank you so much for the intention to support our event. And also, we also have support from Pavilion 95, and also, as always, thank you so much, Green Building Council Indonesia. I would like to introduce myself now. My name is Ovacana Dewi. I'm a lecturer in Universitas Indonesia, Department of Architecture, Faculty of Engineering. Now I would like to introduce the two speakers in our event. The first one, we have Mr. Amardip Dugar, PhD. He is a professional member of International Association Lighting Designers, or ILD, in the USA. One of the achievements that he has, the first one is the Principal Lighting Research and Design in Chennai, India, and also named under 40 and named under the 40 hottest lighting designers in the world by UK's Lighting magazine in 2016. Also, the winner of India International Science Fest Young Scientist Conclave 2016. Wow. Okay, that's from the professional side. Now we also have from the academician side, Mr. Dr. Insinyur Rizky Armanto Mangkuto, IPM. So he's the head of Lighting Laboratory Faculty of Industrial Technology, Institut Teknologi Bandung. One of the achievements is he is the professional engineer at Persatuan Insinyur Indonesia, and also assistant professor at Building Physics Research Group, Institut Teknologi Bandung, and the secretary of International Building Performance Simulation Association IPSA Indonesia. So for our panelists for today's sessions, we have Mr. Agus Danang Ismoyo, MALD, one of the professional lighting designers in Indonesia, and he have been experiencing in working in lighting design project, for example, Istiqlal Malls, and also Gelora Bung Karno districts, and also the new airport in Yogyakarta, the AIA Yogyakarta International Airport. Thank you. Halo, Pak Dalhar, also Pak Danang, also Pak Rizky, and also Pak Amar. Oh, it's very good to see you. Hope you already in very good conditions. Yeah. Hello. Just say hi, maybe, to all of the audience in the YouTube channel.
Halo, halo.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah.
Halo, good morning. Selamat pagi.
Selamat pagi, Amar.
Selamat pagi semuanya.
Okay, Pak Rizky, where are you, Pak Rizky? Are you there, Pak
Yes,
Rizky?
I'm here. Yes.
Okay, halo Pak
Selamat
Rizky.
pagi. Ya.
Selamat pagi.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Okay, we may start to the next one. Ayesha and Pak Mas Syarif. Nah, that's Pak Rizky. Okay, now to all of you, it's okay. Thank you, Pak. To all of you, actually today, this month, to be specific, is our 1 year celebrations. Yeah, so today the 12th, the series of number 12 in BIG, Build It Green, we already conducted 12, including with this one, webinars, which is always bringing issues and theme in terms of sustainability. Yeah, so thank you so much for these 12 amazing months. We hope that we will also still continue sharing a lot of good things. Actually, there is not so many things different with when we started this webinar in July 2020. We're still in the pandemic at the moment, even though at the moment we still have like quite not really good situations. That maybe I would like to ask all of you to give some, maybe 1 minute to pray a little bit. So this pandemic will be over soon and our world will be helped and get better again. Yeah. So let's pray together. Okay, now we can start with the introduction from our head of Department of Architecture, Mr. Dalhar Susanto. Please, Pak Dalhar.
Thank you, Bu Ova. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Department of Architecture, Universitas Indonesia, first of all, I would like to congratulate Ibu Ova and team that already achieved 12 webinar on the topic of sustainability. And this webinar called Big Seminar, Built in Green, if I'm not mistaken. So again, it is a great achievement to conduct 12 webinar, and I hope we will continue in the future. Secondly, I would like to thank and welcome all the important guests today, Dr. Amardeep, and then Dr. Rizky, and then Mr. Danang. They are expert, professional, and also academician in lighting. So again, thank you. Today we will discuss again regarding sustainability. I hope it is not what you call it, getting boring to discuss sustainability, because I think topic sustainability is getting more important today and in the next future. And this time we will focusing on lighting. Lighting, and at the one side, of course, through lighting, we want to have a good building in the aesthetic and so on. But lighting also related to human health and comfort. But not on that issue, lighting design has also have responsibility not to harm or to burden the environment. So today we will discuss about it. So I would like to, what you call it, hope that we can have a benefit to all of us in this seminar, in this webinar. And thank you again to Ibu Ova that already initiate and organize this seminar until today. And also thank you to the sponsor, and the organizer, the team of the organizer. So enjoy and good luck with the seminar. Thank you, Bu Ova.
Thank you so much, Pak Dalhar. Okay, as Pak Dalhar gave the introduction already about lighting and sustainability, as we know, at the moment, we didn't really have like a quite good situations concerning to our health, right? So that's why we invited the speakers in lighting and sustainability. Actually, we also want to address the issues of health in this lighting. So lighting is not only about aesthetic, that's true. It's also concerning about sustainability, but the most important at the moment is we want to relate this lighting, sustainability, and health to consider the current situations. So please welcome our first speaker, the professional lighting designers from Chennai. We already imported this morning, Mr. Amar, PhD. Yeah, we are very happy to have you in this webinar, Pak Amar. So please, Pak Amar would like to share about future trends in sustainable lighting. Your time start now, Pak Amar, please.
Thank you, Ova. Thank you, Professor, all the team of University of Indonesia. It's a real pleasure to be amongst all of you. I am really honored to be a part of this seminar, and many congratulations on the 12 webinars. And I really hope the prayer that we had will come true, because the next conference that I want to give, I want to be in Indonesia, in Jakarta, in your university, because I saw the beautiful university. It's a very nice place to be. So I want to visit, and I'm missing my friend Danang for so many years. So I'll be love to visit Indonesia soon. So I'm going to be sharing my screen now. Hope all of you are able to see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to be talking about today is the future trends in sustainable lighting. Sustainability has been with us for a good number of years. I started studying architecture in 1996, which is a good 25 years back. And I've been hearing about sustainable design since then, and probably it's been there. But what has happened in all these 25 years is that sustainability has been changing. And how is it changing? Now, sustainable design initially, when it came as a concept, was all about ecology, economy, and equity. So there is ecology, which is the environment. There is economy, which is the money aspect. And then this is equity, where it talks about social equality. That was sustainable design. But as we have been going through, there has been a paradigm shift. So as we go into the future, what I did find is that sustainable design has become something called slow design. What does slow design mean? Slow design means that the ecology aspect, which is the environment, is still very important. But from environment, what it is moving us to focus is to entity, where an entity means there are individuals. And like our professor had given the introduction today, health is becoming a very important aspect. And health is just not physical health. There is mental health. People are struggling with a lot of mental diseases, mental problems, because one, the buildings are not very good. So the focus is on entity. And then talking about urbanity, by urbanity means it's the social and cultural importance. A lot of times, architecture tends to be so focused on just building glass and steel. A lot of times, I know it's a great material to use, but sometimes they really lose context of the social, the culture, the vernacular. So slow design talks about bringing, and sustainable design needs to get a little bit more broader, where it brings in ecology, entity, and urbanity, where we have individual, sociocultural, and the environment. They all come together and make it a much more meaningful design. So sustainable design is not just about energy saving. Energy saving is just one part of it, and the environment, but then there are a lot more aspects to be looked into. So how does this focus into lighting? I read a very interesting paper called The Welcome to the Lumens by a very significant designer called Brad Kern. He talks about 5 or 6 trends. The first trend that he talks about is that architecture is going to be moving away from just light fixtures. There are not going to be any more light fixtures, where the whole architecture will itself become a luminous surface. By luminous surfaces means the ceiling will become a surface of light. The walls will become a surface of light. So light and material will merge. So architecture will become a whole entire holistic concept of light. So then built environments will then start creating a very continuous and fluid visual experience. So as you go inside a space, you will not see any more light fixtures. You will not need light fixtures because the floor, the wall, the ceiling itself will become light. And what will this do is that it will become a healthy lit environment, because users of the space will become the more important key people in there. There'll be a lot of psychophysiological response. So the space will actually start bringing nature into the interior atmosphere. So you see this image on the right. This is an basement area where there is no connection to the daylight. So the ceiling itself gives a visual mapping or projection of the daylight with trees. So people will have a direct connection to exterior and the interior through these luminous surfaces and digital architecture. The second thing that the concept talks about is the virtual and the architectural world will actually start merging into one. So the entire sustainable design will be very much media driven. So there'll be a lot of virtual experiences. Now, this is a cafeteria in Germany. Again, this cafeteria is in the basement. And what happened was people who are using this cafeteria did not have any direct connection with nature. So the lighting designer, what they planned was, they took a photograph of a lake that was outside and did a digital printing of that on the wall of that. And the lighting that is provided, it changes as per the environmental conditions. So when it's warm outside and the light inside also becomes warm. Nighttime, it becomes a bluish color. So whole architecture becomes media driven and it becomes data driven. By data driven, meaning there's a lot of environmental optimization. So based on what the exterior environmental conditions are, the architecture inside will be simulated and respond to that external environmental conditions. So users will actually get an actual feeling of there being in direct connection with the environment through the architecture. The next thing that we talk about is interactive spaces. By interactive spaces means the lighting will start interacting with users and the human beings. And interaction doesn't only mean, now what we see about interaction is people use their smartphone and control the lighting. Interaction will go beyond smartphones. There'll be things like touch, proximity, and other embodied activity. By embodied activity, meaning if you see the image on the right, you see the man and the woman blowing into that sensor. So this installation is called breath of light. So the more stronger your breath is, the brighter the light becomes. So this is how interaction will work. So based on people's physical movement, the lighting in the space will start responding. And the advantage this will be is that if someone is coming with a bad mood inside the home, imagine there's a sensor which is placed inside the house and understands that there's somebody is having a bad mood. So how do we make this mood a bit more lighter? So the lighting will start changing and reacting to the person's physical movements in the bad mood, and becomes a very enhanced and soothing down feeling. So the person's mood will get better. He'll be a little bit more happier. So emotionally, physically, mentally, the person will become healthy with this interactive lighting. So there'll be a lot more meaningful interaction. So light will not only deliver the light actual function of illuminating a space, it will start delivering content and delightful. So lighting will start becoming delightful with these interactive spaces. Next concept is called digital twin commissioning. What do I mean by that? We all know we're using a lot of BIM, building information modeling. So building information modeling will become to the next level where everything will become virtual lighting. So with building information modeling, what lighting designers could do is, even before the actual building is built, they could model the entire space and actually control how the lighting is going to look like inside the building. And if the lighting designer is, say, sitting in India, so I'm in India, I want to do a project in Indonesia, I don't have to physically come to Indonesia with this building information modeling. I'll do the entire design of the building and I can do live simulations. This way, it'll reduce the on-site commissioning costs. It'll reduce the number of time and the site visit that's required. And this itself becomes a very sustainable mode of designing because you're reducing your carbon footprint of the whole place. So with cloud connected BIM models, you can actually control the real lighting in the site. So this will be a very sustainable way of looking at how to design in the future. Circular economy. Yeah, our entire chain of how the production and disposal is happening is a very linear economy. So products get light fixtures, or products are being produced. They are used for, let's say, 5 years and 10 years, and then they are disposed of and go into a landfill. By circular economy, what it does is the entire chain is made into a circle where the light fixtures, after being consumed, come back to the factory, either being recycled or being reused or being repaired and being remodeled and brought into the entire chain. So a common sense product design chain will work where light fixtures can be repaired and reused to make them much more durable. There will also be smart maintenance programs wherein the supplier who supplied the light fixture can monitor what each and every light fixture is doing. So if the light fixture is not functioning, the supplier would know what is happening, what is wrong with that, because everything is very digitally controlled and everything can be broadcasted and brought into live performance. And all light fixtures will start using bio-friendly materials, because then they'll start using the reduced embodied energy, the toxicity, and the costs that are involved in the whole design. And finally, the sixth trend is DC power and net zero energy. All of us, we all know that we are using alternating current, which is the AC power. And AC power, what they say is that it can travel long distances. But the fact that the AC grid travels long distances, there's a lot of wastage of energy because of heat and losses. So when the whole nano grid, by nano grid, I mean that the whole energy is brought into a house. So whenever a house is designed, they have renewable energy sources where they have solar panels on the ceiling, they have wind energy, and everything is produced locally within the house. So it will completely replace that AC infrastructure, thereby it will reduce the power losses and waste. And the whole buildings will start become net zero. As I'm sure we all know what net zero means, because everything is being internally generated by the house, and there will not be any need for getting energy or supply from external sources. So everything will be DC power, and we all know LEDs and most of the electrical fixtures that we are, especially lighting, burn on DC power. So that way, again, they'll be reducing in cost. So you have to use any power supply or drivers for these light fixtures. Now that we've seen the theory, I would like to present a case study of a project that has all of these concepts implemented in design. And this is the Cepsa flag station in Spain. The goal of the architecture was to create a lot of simple and elegant, sustainable, and a future-focused structure. So that this is a petrol station, and you know how futuristic it looks. So it consists of a solid box, which is that retail chair there where all the merchandise is happening. It consists of a void, which is this whole roof. It's a light and semi-transparent canopy of balloons. So right from the material of the concept of merging light and material is taken into consideration here, because the structure is made of ethylene terafluoroethylene, that is tetrafluoroethylene, ETFE. The speciality of this material is that during the day, it's transparent. So you see the image on the left. So it brings in a lot of daylight. It brings in beautiful views to the sky. You see the beautiful sky behind me. That's why I like doing these presentations on my terrace, because it's nice to see the sky. And during the night, when light is shot through on the side, this becomes an opaque building. So when it becomes opaque, there is no transmission of light. There's no pollution of light. So it's very important that light pollution is a major problem in a lot of our cities. So what is important is light should not pollute the atmosphere. It should not go into the sky, because then you don't have any views to the dark sky. So this becomes opaque and only light is left inside it. So it acquires a very solid experience when the light is shot through. If you look closely on the left here, there is functional lighting, the white strip of LEDs providing functional lighting. It provides illumination for the cars that are coming in there. The red LEDs are for branding. Now, red color was the Cepsa's brand color. So the entire petrol station was lit up in red, so that when our cars are approaching from far away from a highway, they can clearly identify this is a Cepsa petrol station because of the red colors. So it uses good for branding. and it merges with the architecture. What it also does is the entire petrol station is interactive. So whenever there are no cars that are coming inside that petrol station, the light automatically dims down to 50% or 40% and saving energy. And whenever there's cars that are moving in, the light automatically brightens for a person to fill in the petrol or go buy something from the shop. So it's a very interactive space, like we've talked about. Once again, there is no light trespass or light pollution because all the light is either aimed downwards or sideways. There's no light going up into the sky. There's no. And if you look on the left-hand side of this image, you'll see these three pillars. Three pillars are actually windmills. So the entire petrol station is powered by renewable energy. So these windmills provide the entire energy for the lighting. So this is how a net zero and a circular economy concept works here, because it doesn't, it generates its own power and doesn't have to be dependent on energy from the grid. So the evolutionary way forward for designers is architects, especially, and interior designers have to start moving from being just spaces. They're not just designing spaces, they're designing experiences. So you're moving from spatial design to experiential design. So what does this require? First thing it requires is scripting. Scripting meaning, just like how you've seen movies, you might have seen a lot of Bollywood movies, they make a script of everything. So designers need to start making a script of to what is going to be happening in every space. Then they bring it to storyboards. So how the users are going to be using that space has to put into a storyboard. Every activity has to be recorded and noted so that users can know what, and designer knows what the users are going to be, and then simulate it. So before the actual building is built, you simulate the entire workspace, you simulate the entire activity of the person in that building so that you actually know what the building is doing using building information modeling. So that's how you move from spatial to experiential design. And finally, designers have an obligation where they move from a bright to a right future. So you need to be thinking, you need to be mapping, and then specifying. So think about what materials they're going to be using, whether it's lighting or light fixtures or whatever it is, how much of energy they're using, what is the embodied energy, what is the renewable sources, how can they be recycled? And then you map the entire cycle of the products. How many years is the product going to be used? How many is going to be installed? How does it go back to that factory? How can it be reused and brought back into the system? And then finally, you specify the right kind of products for that project. In a summary of my presentation, I would like to conclude here. So designers, especially architects, have to start looking at the sustainable broader context. Go beyond quantifiable measures of energy and money. Energy and money is very important, but that's not the only thing. What you need to think about is enhance the quality of environments, experienced by individuals, experienced by socials and cultures, societies and cultures. So you look at health, you look at well-being, and you look at how people are going to be using the space. So daylight is a very important aspect of people feeling healthy inside a space. So the key factor is ecology. You ensure that lighting does not disturb the ecosystem. Humans are very self-centered. They design lighting, it disturbs the animals, it disturbs the birds, it disturbs nature, it disturbs plants, it disturbs fishes. So design lighting so that it does not disturb the ecosystem. Design for the entity, and you ensure that lighting provides deep satisfaction for individual psychological and physiological needs. And finally, you have the urbanity, where you have ensuring that light provides deep satisfaction to the community, socio-cultural needs. So it's not just the individual you need to look at, you need to look at the entire community whom you're going to be designing for. With this, I'd like to thank you all for this attention, and I'll be concluding my presentation. Over to you, Ova.
Okay, thank you so much, Amar, PhD, for your presentation. This is a very beneficial material for us, right? Not only for the lighting designers, also for us in architecture, and also the one who work on the sustainable field. And also, I'm very pleased that you also make like a sum up for broaden our knowledge, right? We are talking about net zero. We are talking about also the pollution in lighting, emissions, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So thank you so much again, Amar, PhD. So
thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now we can go on to the next one. We would like to see the short advertisements from one of our sponsor. The first one comes from Centralite. So please. So thank you so much once again for one of our sponsors for this series. It is Centralite. Thank you so much. Yeah, we will get it to our second speaker. This is Mr. Dr. Insinyur Rizky Armanto, IPM. He is the head of Lighting Laboratory, Faculty of Industrial Technology, Institute Teknologi Bandung. So Pak Rizky, good morning, Pak Rizky.
Good morning, Bofa.
Yeah, are you ready, Pak Rizky, to share with us?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. And I said, can you see my screen now?
Yes, Pastor Rizky is perfect.
Yeah, full
Thank
screen.
you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Bu Ova and Department of Arsitektur Universitas Indonesia for inviting me. It's a great honor to share my presentation today to all of you, which will be about so-called performance-based lighting design. I think there should be quite a lot of overlap with the previous presentation from Dr. Amardip in the way or in approach towards achieving sustainability. This is actually, as perhaps we can conclude from previous presentation, this is a long story made short, so I have to reduce the material so that hopefully it can be finished within 15 or 20 minutes or so. But it's a long way towards approaching sustainability, especially in lighting and lighting design, and we will have a quick look on how we can get into that. Okay, let us start with a quiz. Everybody loves quizzes. No? Okay, so you can write down your answer or whatever. The organizer will give a door prize, I believe, sometimes later. I will have 3 questions for the quizzes. First question, number 1A. We have two pairs of roads or streets here, lit with an electrical light during night, at night time. Question is, which road has actually a greater lighting level, the left one or the right one? Yeah. Both of the images, a pair of images, left or right. Question A. Question B, which lighting installation is more energy efficient? So now we speak about energy. Which installation is more energy efficient, do you think? Left or right? Okay, so keep the answer with you. Stay with me. We will find the answer later in the presentation. Question number 2. Question for lighting designer. Which installation is healthier? By healthier, actually I mean better for biological or circadian rhythm of the human in office rooms or spaces, particularly in the afternoon. So for afternoon works, which installation is healthier, do you think? Left or right? Yeah. So this also, we'll find the answer later. Question number 3. In the Java Island, most of us Indonesians, majority lives in Java Island. Which window orientation is better in terms of achieving good daylighting and energy demand? So balancing between daylight and energy demand. Facing north, this way, or facing south, this way? This is a question for architects. Must know the answer. Facing north or facing south? We will see the answer later again also. So by these 3 questions, I propose the big question actually. What is actually meant by sustainable lighting? I won't give the answer, but actually we can deduce the answer from those 3 questions. And those 3 questions, I would like to I would like to discuss a little bit, point per point. The first one, if you remember, the first questions is something to do with visual performance and comfort. And I think this is also has also been mentioned by Dr. Amardip previously. Visual performance and comfort is key for delivering sustainable lighting design, which can be traced back to our physiological. We all know this. Our eyes, particularly the retina, is the most important part of our eyes. It consists of 2 photosensitive cells, the rod and cone, and they have 2 different functions. Yeah? Rod is particularly active in dim scenes, low light scenes, as we call is a scotopic mode, while cone is more active in bright scenes, so or as we call photopic mode. And they have a slightly different response, slightly different spectral response to the wavelength light, and into different wavelengths, and those 2 types of cells. To do with the lighting installation, it has something to do with that, because it actually determines what we understand now as the SP ratio. SP ratio, scotopic and photopic ratio. Comparison between the scotopic and photopic flux of a light source. So if you have a certain light source, for example, a typical old street luminaires, street lamps. I think for LED we have this kind of type of lamps, high pressure sodium HPS. If you see the spectrum or the spectra of the light distribution power, basically most of them actually focus in this range of wavelength. Yeah, so it's about yellowish color, yellowish white. While if we compare with today's LED product, mostly we see it as white, but white doesn't not necessarily mean white. All the wavelength are equal. It's not like that. Actually, it's more dominated in this area. So it's the bluish range of color wavelength. And if we do a correlation in signal processing, we know the principle of correlation between this signal and this signal, or this signal and this signal. We will get a different number of SP ratio. So basically, the light source with a spectrum that is closer to this one, the blue one, because this is what we have at night mostly, while the green one is what we see during daytime. But as the time goes towards the evening, our sensitivity actually goes to the left. So the blue one is actually the reference for our eyes, basically, so to say. So a light source with a greater spectral power content towards this area actually will have a greater number of SP ratio. So and it also has something to do with what we know as the CCT, correlated color temperature. The higher the CCT, the whiter or the bluish whiter the color is. So as the CCT goes up, yeah, the SP ratio also goes up. So it's a sort of proportional. That is one point regarding the light source. But we also have to understand that lighting design is not only about choosing the right light source, but also how to deliver the light on the object, and also, of course, on the observer, because an object is there to be observed by the observer, by us, human. And it's not a straightforward task, I believe. There are many standards or requirements that we have to follow in order to, well, most people actually think about the object first, yeah. So we always try first to give light as much as possible on the objects, which is not incorrect, but also not it is not the whole story. What we read on our standards, for example, Illuminance Standards, this is very popular. Every lighting designer knows this table. 300 lux for office. It's like a mantra. Everybody knows this number, but it's actually only say something about the objects, how the object should be lit. It doesn't actually necessarily say anything about how what the observer would actually like, because it is something more complicated. But this is actually the simpler version of the light, visual performance requirement. Just measure the illuminance. This is a very cheap instrument. We can just measure it ourselves and follow the standard. Like, okay, we have satisfied the standard, but it doesn't say anything about how the observer actually perceive or look on the entire space. This is something more complicated because now we have to move from illuminance to luminance, something to do with the brightness of the surface. I think also something has been said in the previous presentation. Luminance is much more difficult to control, much more difficult to measure, but nonetheless, it's important because it gives us what we perceive as contrast, glare, and those kind of issues which are related to comfort. And comfort is much more difficult to measure compared to performance. Okay, so let's back to the first questions. How about these two roads? So apparently, based on measurement, the left road, the yellowish road, actually has greater value of illuminance, lighting level, compared to the right road. So it's about 3 or 4 times greater. So in terms of lighting level, the left one is actually greater. But in terms of energy efficiency, I believe that because it requires less number of illuminants, then most likely it will require less energy. So the lamps will operate in lower power. And actually, if you say the proposal for UK guidance for lighting in roads, if you have lamps with higher SP ratio, you can actually lower down the illuminance requirement. So lamps if your lamps has a greater SP ratio, you can lower down your illuminance, meaning that it will also lower down your energy. So that's something to remember about the visual performance and visual comfort as well. It's also something much more difficult to assess. Glare is an issue. This is an urban planning issue, actually. We see glare from road lighting installations. It's not always the yellow one that gives, it's not always the white one that gives the more glare. Yeah, it actually depends on the installation and how the lamp is controlled. Also, we have currently an issue about LED display or videotron, as we call it in Indonesia. Very bright at night in the busy street can be quite annoying for the vehicle drivers. Do we have a standard? Actually, we do internationally. Not nationally, but internationally, we do have a standard. But do we ever consider this? I don't think so. It's an issue for everyone to think about. Okay, we move to the second point, health performance, also something to do with sustainability. The main idea is that light is not only responsible for the visual effect. This is a very common misconception that people think that light only affects visual effect. No, since at least 20 years ago, it's been understood that light also stimulates our non-visual effect because of the finding or this discovery of the third photoreceptor. So we have the rod and cone. Now we have the third one, very long name, IPRGC. What else? Okay, I cannot pronounce it. Particularly in our brain. So, and it has something to do with our circadian rhythm, our biological rhythm, our 24-hour, our internal body clock more or less operates in a 24-hour cycle. For example, during the night, we see an increase of melatonin hormone. During night, melatonin goes up. During the day, melatonin goes down, and it actually follows the cycle of the light, our daily light, of daylight and evening light. So if the light is disturbed, then our biological response will also be disturbed. That's basically the idea. And then we have the response, spectral response again. Then we have the indicators, CL, CS, circadian stimulus. So basically, we would like to achieve as high as possible, as high value as possible. It's better for health. That's what they say. But it also depends on the type of the light source and also the type of the wavelengths. And this also brings us to the second question of the quiz. Remember this office? So in the afternoon, 2 p.m., see what happened. So basically our CS, circadian stimulus, typically goes down. So that's why we feel very sleepy during, of course, during normal time in the office. We feel sleepy in the afternoon, after lunch, particularly. So now we have to calculate the CS. Which one gives a greater CS? So I think slightly or marginally this one, the high CCT or the white light installation actually gives a greater CS. But don't take it for granted, because it has more things to consider. Also the energy, fixed illuminance levels and things like that. And it also can be controlled dynamically. So it's not always has to do the same color temperature all the time. Nowadays, it is possible to adjust the color temperature to follow the daily, the biological rhythm, so to say. Okay, and as I said, it also depends on the type of the light source. Yeah, so different light source, different spectra, different response. So different, also different melanopic, so-called melanopic lux. Yeah. And also most importantly, it's typically measured in on vertical plane. So what we see in standards, most of the time everything is measured on horizontal plane, while for healthy purpose, actually, it should be measured on vertical plane, because that's where our eyes are located, on vertical plane instead of horizontal. So that's another key point. And the third one, I'm running out of my time. Energy performance, we see the rise of the newcomer LED since the year 2000. Now we have, I think it's already more than 150 lumen per watt. It's going up and it cannot be stopped. But other than that, we also need to consider the integration. So I think my point here is mostly about integration, particularly with daylight. I think this is also something that we have discussed previously. How the electric light is combined with daylight. This is very important. Architects typically knows this rule of thumbs. Daylight, the real daylight, yeah, I mean, from windows can only go as far as 1.5 or at maximum perhaps 2 times the height of the window top from the floor. So 2 points D. That's the area where daylight can come in, penetrate efficiently. The rest cannot. So we have to put a different type of luminaires. Perhaps this one should be controllable. This one should be mostly active throughout the day and things like that. So different zoning basically. But also this is a rule of thumb. So actually we have a more accurate way to calculate it. But nonetheless, it's important to think about integration with daylight. Nowadays we have many simulation tools. Our group mostly worked with daylight simulation tools. For example, DayZim. We model hypothetical building for climate of Bandung in West Java, and we consider many aspects, window to wall ratio, reflectance, and things like that. while observing energy, daylight, autonomy, things like that. And this is where we come to the third questions. If we compare between north and south orientation, apparently these are the optimum list of optimum solutions. Yeah? Meaning it has the best balance between daylight and energy requirement. Apparently the south window orientation gives the best performance. And if you think about that, this is because in the Java Island is in the south of equator, slightly at the south of equator, facing north. The sun is in the north in the middle of the year, while it is the not the summer, dry season, dry season. While the sun is at the south in the end of the year, December, January, February. While in Indonesia, it's the rainy season, so less direct radiation actually. So we can find some explanation from the modeling and simulation actually. Okay, so last part of my presentation, I think by now you can actually estimate that I'm not really a proponent of the so-called aesthetic base. I'm not saying aesthetic is not important; it's very important. But if you say about sustainability, it's not enough to say about only base your design only on aesthetics. But also, I'm not on the other extreme. Just follow a recipe, like when we are cooking in the kitchen. Follow recipe, mix this, pour this, something like that. This is prescription based. This is also something that not very appropriate in the today's world, complex world. So what I'm actually proposing, or what we have been doing in our groups, is the so-called performance-based approach, and I think this is perhaps a rather novel terminology in lighting community. Let me give you a short illustration. Suppose you want to take a taxi, an online taxi to somewhere. Will you ever say to the taxi driver, hello, Mr. Driver, please turn left and then turn right and then turn straight and then blah, 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 blah. I think we will never do that. We will just rather say to the driver, please take me to the airport, because that's the easiest way to communicate. But also it's clearer that the taxi driver should have an objective, a performance objective. He has to reach the airport no matter what. I don't care, or the passengers would not care if actually he takes this road or that road, as long as he can actually arrive at that area in the airport. So, and speaking about that, it's not necessarily the straight line between A to B, because we don't know what happened between A and B. There can be traffic jam, for example, traffic jam in Indonesia or in India, for example. So maybe take a detour is better. So, but as long as we can get in a shorter time, then the performance has been achieved. So this is basically what we mean as a performance-based approach rather than prescription-based approach. It requires systematic thinking between input of the model and the output. So input is architectural parameters or light source parameters, but the output is something that we would like to assess in the end. Energy consumption, Illuminance, yeah, many things. So I know I've received some notifications. So basically, there are many examples from our previous research studies using modeling and simulation. So we speak about digital twins. We have practiced these concepts in many years ago, basically, although we didn't actually say that digital twin, but basically we use modeling and simulation to predict the performance of our buildings, also including in terms of lighting. Okay, so I think, let's see if we get to the, we go to the conclusion. So to conclude, so basically, at least what I propose to be the meaning of sustainable lighting design should be somehow related with the performance-based approach with respect to 3 points: visual performance, health performance, and energy performance. And also important to select the appropriate performance indicator. So we have to know what we are talking about, how to measure, how to assess, how to evaluate, and what is the target or the criteria. Also very important. And the last but not least conclusion, collaboration is key. We need to collaborate between these 3 actually requires different expertise, expertise on many aspects. Lighting is, by definition, is always an interdisciplinary subject. So collaboration is very much the key. And by that, I conclude my presentation. Sorry for exceeding the time. I always exceed my allocated time slot. Okay, but I will return it to Bu Ova. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So thank you so much, Dr. Rizky, for your very important presentations, because you talk a lot about the performance base, which is also very relevant to our cluster in the Department of Architecture and Sustainability. Pak Rizky also mentions about one of the most famous thing when we dealing with the performance base about our circadian rhythm, right? The biological rhythm in our body, because this is who we are. We experience it. Thank you so much, Pak Rizky, once again.
You're welcome.
Yeah, before we are heading to our discussions, we would like to deliver to you another advertisement, the message from our second sponsor, from Signify. So please. So again, we would like to thank our sponsorship. Just now we just saw the advertisement from the Signify, and the previous one we already saw from the Centralite. So for the Signify and also for Centralite, thank you so much for being here with us. Okay, so again, we already seen the two presenters who are very dealing or very into the lighting and also sustainability. Now we would like to start the discussion. We will divide the discussion session into two parts. The first part is from me and also the panelists and also the two speakers. And the second part, it will come from the audience. So to all of you, if you want to have questions, don't worry. You can write down the questions into the link that is given in our presentation. Yeah. Also, to all of you already registered, don't worry. Again, please try to check whether you already did the confirmations or not, because this will give us a very TikTok information that we will send you the certificate right away. Yeah. Thank you so much. Okay, we will start the discussion session. Okay. So again, how are you, Pak Amar, and also Pak Rizky, and also Pak Danang? After the presentation, is everything okay now?
Yes, feeling so much more lighter.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, Pak Rizky and also Pak Amar. Here we have Pak Danang. The things is would like to combine all of our discussions here in one platform. Yeah. So Mr. Amar is mainly dealing with the professional things in India and also in professional world. Yeah. And also Pak Rizky coming from, as to say, you are coming from industrial faculty, right? Industrial engineering, and we are from architecture. So this is again some kind of integration discipline. Yeah, and we also have Pak Danang here who are mostly working on the professional field in Indonesia. And we also have the two sponsorship from Centralite and also from Signify. This all combined in lighting and sustainability. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay. First one, I would like to have questions for maybe to Mr. Amar first. Yeah. Mr. Amar, because we are at the moment is only staying maybe at home, right? We are only dealing inside of the home. Maybe, I don't know, since we spend a lot of time at home, maybe you can also give some kind of suggestions or considerations for us for staying healthy. Yeah, but not only mentioning about the artificial light, but also the natural light once in a while. Thank you so much. Please, Mr. Ahmad.
Ever since this pandemic has started, I've been trying to spend as much as my time on my terrace. So I cannot go out, but within my house, I can sit in the balcony. I can come up to the terrace, try to get as much as daylight as possible. Because as we as human beings, when we evolved as beings, we used to spend a lot of times, we were hunters, we were gatherers, we were collectors working in the farms. And we used to feel much more healthier because we were working a lot of our times in the fields, in the sun. So daylight is very much essential for us because one is for the production of vitamin D from the daylight that is there. And daylight also gives a nice balance to our entire circadian rhythm. In the presentation of Dr. Rizky, you saw that IPRGC, it's the intrinsically photosensitive ganglion cells, IPRGC. That is something which is like a trigger. It really triggers your melatonin levels within the body. Melatonin is a very important hormone that is also called the sleep hormone. It needs to be produced in the body because it really stabilizes all the other hormones. But during the day, we want melatonin to stop so that we can be active. So melatonin starts producing into serotonin and daylight is needed there. So daylight is something which is as much as possible. Agreed, we are in a pandemic situation. We are not allowed to go out. So try to spend as much as time. If you have a balcony, go sit in the balcony if possible. If you have a terrace, come on top of the terrace like what I have done here. If that is also not possible, try to sit next to a window. Try to open your windows. Let there be a lot of cross ventilation inside the space. Let a lot of natural light come in. So be in the actual cycle of the day is something which I advise. And me being a lighting designer, what I also say is to minimize the use of artificial light. How can you minimize the use of artificial light? Is try to make all your work during the day when this day's on, and try to go to bed early so that you can wake up early and then in the morning. So again, we need to go back to our roots as to how we used to be living in nature within the time. And that is something which is a healthy lifestyle that we all need to be following. And that's a very sustainable lifetime. Imagine a person who goes to bed, say every night at say 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock, the person is switching on the light from 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. So the 6 hours of unnecessary night. But if the person is a little bit more sensitive and becomes, say, I'll go to bed at 9 o'clock. So you're reducing the 3 hours of power consumption of light. It is a very sustainable way of lifestyle. You're saving energy. You're making your body much more healthier. And it's going in tune with the natural cycle of the environment. So that is what I would call sustainable, is to try to minimize use of artificial light, try to be in daylight as much as possible, is what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. So you're balancing the artificial and also daylight, but I think you also give some kind of emphasizing, try to get so much exposure on the daylight, right? So it is very important. Thank you so much, Pak Ahmad. Then I would like to continue to Dr. Rizky for the next presentations. I think we already agree on those two presentations. Also, just now, Pak Ahmad already mentions about how important it is in our life about the lighting itself. Pak Rizky, if I may ask, what is actually your point of view in our educations, maybe in architecture or maybe in the field of engineering, concerning to the light itself? Yeah, maybe light and sustainability. Have we emphasized these issues in our curriculum, for example? And maybe to get into more focus on that, how about the lighting itself in terms of in terms of thermal comfort in our design, for example? Have you seen such things, or maybe can you share your point of view in how the development of these two things? Thank you, Pak Rizky. Did you get the point of the questions, Pak Rizky? Sorry, it's too long.
Yes, sort of. No, thank you. Thank you for the question. Very important. I have been working together with a few colleagues from Department of Arsitektur in ITB and other universities. We have, I think, a few years ago, we have once together sat together in the room and then try to compare the courses, the offered courses in bachelor program of architecture that is related with building physics in general, including lighting. I think I suppose most of there are many department of architectures throughout Indonesia, right? Many. I don't know how many. Maybe Buova, you knows better. 100 or something, even more. I think most of them actually offers a course in building physics or in any other names. Sometimes people prefer not to use the terms physics because of the psychological barrier. But nonetheless, it's the same content anyway. But not, yeah, but sometimes it's, you see, I also work in building physics. I'm from the building physics research group officially. But we are from Department of Engineering or Applied Physics. So our building physics actually is more leaning towards the physics part, I should say, to be honest. While the building physics that is taught in many department of architectures, at least in Indonesia, are heavy on the building part. So these two keywords, building and physics. Building physics depends on who actually see the term. In architecture, maybe most people actually see it in terms as part of the building components, a part of building elements, maybe. So building physics is one of the elements that we need to consider in the building design. That's also including lighting inside. While for us, engineers or applied physicists, building physics is another exercise of physics, basically, only in the context of building. So there is a slightly different way of thinking. We don't think the same as architects think. Do so. We have to. Engineers always have different way of thinking, but at some points we have to meet each other. So, what I would suggest, basically, or maybe if I may, is try to as I present in my talk, try to include the aspects of performance based design approach in our curricula or curriculum as much as possible or as understandable as possible. It's not easy because if you because performance is another level. You need first to finish the course, the 101, the building physics 101 first, and then we can start saying about performance. So performance is an advanced level concept actually. You cannot say performance if you don't know what you don't know for example, what's the difference between illuminance and luminance? Very basic question, but if you cannot answer that question, you cannot say about performance because you haven't finished your homework. So this is a very rude way to think. But anyway, we need to think to go beyond the fundamental level. To speak about performance is another level of thinking, because I know in many places in the developed worlds, in Europe, in the US, the performance aspect is something that integratively being taught in courses. So, it's not separated. So when we design something, we already need to be able to show that the design will perform good or satisfy the criteria, whatever the criteria are. But we have to have the criteria anyway. If you don't have the criteria, then we don't know it's good or bad. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay lah, it's good. It's not good. So I would actually propose a sort of harder way to assess things using criteria, performance indicator. These are very common terms in building performance community in general. And lighting is, again, it's an interdisciplinary topic. So sometimes we can go this way, sometimes we can go towards the artistic way, towards the psychological way, towards the physiological way. There are many ways to lean towards. But I think we should try to start thinking about performance if you want to speak about sustainability in general.
Okay. Thank you so much, Pak Rizky, for the answer. I would like to wrap up a little bit after my questions to Pak Amar. Pak Amar mentioning about something about lifestyle, saving energy, the nature, for example. And yeah, to get out a bit behind, we also have this building physics from the point of view from Pak Rizky discipline. And then we are together in the building design, right? That's the wrap up. Okay, maybe I would like to hear something from Pak Danang. First of all, as he also worked on the professional field in Indonesia, working in the lighting. Pak Danang, maybe you can also address this issue of lighting and sustainability in the professional field. Please, Pak Danang, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Joelka. I just want to say that sustainable lighting practice should include the people itself. And because lighting is most important thing for human being. And of course, the natural lighting is the part of it. So when we talk sustainable lighting, we should combine between the natural light and of course the artificial itself. And for my record, that sustainable lighting means we can use the controllable lighting. So which means that today we can control the color temperature, so we can mimic the light of the natural light itself if we talk about artificial light. Yeah? And of course, we can dim the light if it's too bright or it's already enough have natural light inside the space, so we can dim down the artificial light. So it's meant that in the end, we also can saving energy by reducing the power that we need to control or to lit up the artificial light. So that's this the one that I want to underline is the people itself is must thinking about the light which come through inside the space in the building or the house or in the room. So it can be combined also with the natural light. So that's part of my
Okay.
practice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pa Dadang. Also, again, then maybe I would like to combine itself as a professional field in the international world, and then we have the academicians from Pariski and also professional from Pa Dadang. We know that actually we are working also in that kind of direction, Pariski. We are not talking about lighting as an aesthetic. We are because we understood 100% that lighting is not only about visual but non-visual one. And yes, I think to tie up a lot of information that we got here today concerning the education itself, we need to address this performance-based indicator in our curriculum. Yeah, thank you so much. I still have some questions to all of you, to Paris and Pa Amar, but we quite have not enough time, and I have in my hand now a lot of questions addressed to both speakers. Yeah, so prepare. For the speaker, I would like to read, first of all, to the questions to Pak Amar. Yeah, this coming from Alvin Nugraha Pratama in South Tangerang. Yeah, the questions is, considering if in the future there will be that merge between the lighting design and the architecture itself, how is it compromising with the amount of energy that is going to be used despite the net zero initiative that could be taken? Is it going to be absolutely sustainable? Maybe in this case, of the utopian hypothetical sense. Thank you, Pak Amar.
Very good question, and that's something which we really need to start thinking about. When I say architecture and lighting are going to get merging, by merging, what we are also going to be looking at is you need to look at it from a lot of different perspectives. First is looking at the embodied energy of the light fixture and the architecture itself, as to how are we going to be saving on the material cost by combining light and architecture together. And then coming in terms of the usage cost. So when we talk about net zero itself means that we are not going to be drawing any energy from the actual grid. The building itself is going to be starting to produce its own energy. So that way, it in itself becomes sustainable. I know the concept sounds a bit utopian, but there is a lot of pragmatism to it in the whole way of bringing this whole thing together. So future does look exciting for all of us architects. It's just that we need to be open to accept new ideas, not be scared of exploring new ideas, not be tied down with conventions, because when they ask, are there any standards? The problem with standards is that there is no one size fits all. You cannot have one shoe fitting because we are all different human beings. Imagine we are just having coffee. One person likes to have 1 spoon of coffee, sugar in that coffee. Another person likes to have 2 spoons of sugar. So excuse me, each of us is different. So that way, we need to really think about a holistic approach of everybody being there in terms of the whole design. I hope this answers your question in terms of what the future would be.
Okay, thank you, Pak Amar. To got your sense that you saying something like nothing that one size fits all. Yeah, but also you address the kind of embodied energy fixtures and also the cost. That's, I think it's also regarding the 3 cycles of sustainability, right? Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, Pak Alvin, I think you already got the answer. I hope it's enough. Then I would like to come to the second questions. It's addressed to you, Pak Rizky. Yeah, the question is coming from Zaki AM in Bandung. Yeah, I read somewhere that circadian lighting could be a strategy that is sustainable for users' health. As someone who has been trouble in sleeping in this time of pandemic, is that a good option? How do I adapt the concept to my house? Like what kind of lamp and setting to be used or where to place it? Thank you. Maybe after this, Pak Amar could also add the answer. Thank you. Please, Pak Rizky.
Yes, thank you, Wafa. So far, we need to understand that this particular topic of relation between lighting and circadian rhythm is still very much an ongoing the topic, yeah, and it's a very much open-ended research question, I should say, open-ended research question. It started in 2002 since the discovery of IPRGC. Now I can pronounce correctly, IPRGC. Until now, it's still open, so for everybody can propose ideas how to balance the. So basically, we have to. So the idea is basically to balance the timing and the light quality, yeah, quality in terms of spectral content, spectral power distribution, and or CCT. And the energy, so the level, the illuminance, for example, level. As I mentioned in the presentation, for example, during the afternoon, it's suggested to boost the circadian stimulus by using higher color temperature, lamps or light source with higher color temperature, so white sources. Okay, I'm not really into that this topic actually. Maybe it's open for everybody because I don't have the the appropriate resource to focus on this this area. But in general,
Dr. Rizky, if you don't mind, I can answer this question.
Okay.
Yeah. So first thing you need to understand is that circadian system is, as Dr. Rizky had mentioned, it's a fairly new, it's still ongoing. People don't have very conclusive evidence on all of this. And the worst part is that whole concept of human-centric lighting has become a marketing term. A lot of manufacturers have started making some light fixtures which changes color temperatures, and they say, yes, this is a circadian light, you need to sell it, and they just become a hogwash. Most of the time, you have to be very careful of buying these light fixtures. So although the research is real, all the findings are real, we're still trying to find out, but we as users have to be very careful about what to buy. But your question is valid as to how do we use this lighting in our day-to-day lifestyles. Firstly, is helping to sleep. Now, going back to, again, ancient man, what our women, when we were there, when we did not have any artificial light, we used to go to bed and it was completely dark. So if you want good sleep, try to make sure that your room or every place is completely dark. If you have light that is coming, pollution coming in from windows, close your curtains. Try to make sure the room is really dark, because then darkness promotes better sleep. Some people say, I would like to have a small lamp that is burning in my room. If you have the small lamp, make sure it's not coming and directly hitting your eye. So it's better to have a night lamp that is floor level. So on your floor, that is washing only the floor, is always good, because whenever I'm sure even Dana would agree that whenever we do hotel room designs, we design a night lamp, and the night lamp is designed right next to the toilet on the floor level, so that when the guest is sleeping, the light only goes, washes the floor, it doesn't disturb the person who's sleeping. So that is also a very important aspect to look at when you're designing the lighting. Also, color temperature also plays an important role. Ideally, you should have warmer color temperature. So it's like this yellow orange light is much better for sleeping. So my mother and father, I've experimented this with my mother and father, because my mother and father also were having problems at night. So what I did was, I didn't have room in the light. On the small exit corridor next to the toilet, I switched on a red bulb, small red bulb. And what my mom and father said, that red bulb, the red light is really helping them sleep better, because it's really not disturbing. The frequency of light is so much more better, it's not. So try not to have bluish or white light at night. It's good for reading, it's doing for tasking, or you're writing or you're working in the kitchen. That bluish white light, bright light is good. But whenever you're in your relaxing room, you're watching the TV, or you want to go off to bed, so it's say you go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. At 8 o'clock, you're watching a program. So it's better to have a warm light inside the place, yellowish light, because the yellowish light doesn't disturb your sleep patterns, doesn't disturb your melatonin levels or patterns. So these are some very simple tips. And it's not something that this is a guideline. So don't say that I said this is a guideline. It's something which I have experimented it, and it's something which is good to implement. You may try it and see if it works. So I hope this answers the question.
Okay, thank you, Pak Rizky, and also Pak Amar. Maybe I would like to hear also from Pak Danang, because he also work on this kind of field. Thank you, Pak Danang, please.
Yeah, I agree with Amar also, because actually we will sleep without light is much better rather than we sleep with light. I mean, so a small amount of light will help us go to somewhere if we are awakened during the night. This is the most important thing, how we design the lighting in the bedroom. So it's and the color itself, Amar said that the red one is much better. Sometimes because everyone because it's about color, everyone is have a different opinion about light, about color. Sorry, so it's one person to another person will be maybe select another color for pleasure itself. So this is my opinion.
Okay, thank you also, Pak Danang. Okay, then I will read the other questions. But before that, maybe I would like to address some kind of point of view here about night light on the floor to spread the distribution of light, and also red light to keep we sleep more comfortable, maybe in a very quiet place, maybe to get into the light. Yeah. So Pak Rizky, I still have another question for you. This is also still concerning the circadian rhythm. I think this is a very important issues that we would like to emphasize, mainly if we are dealing with this performance-based approach. Yeah, Pak Rizky, this question is coming from Pak Budi Janto Chandra from Jakarta. The question is, circadian rhythm is one of the most important aspects that impact human health. Could you describe how far this circadian rhythm aspect can affect human health and the way supporting in sustainable lighting? Thank you. Please, Pak Rizky.
Okay, yeah, I think it's more or less the same question. Yeah, How does it relate with the human health? This kind of circadian lighting terminology. Yes, I just wanted to finish in that by saying that most of the so-called human-centric lighting products are just commercial stuffs that the manufacturers are trying to sell. But yeah, so I would say that there are many evidence that light can have positive effects on human health. But I should underline, or we should underline, that there are many uncertainties in these findings, and perhaps because it's no longer belong to the physical phenomena anymore. It's now belongs to the psychological phenomena, perception, preference. These things don't obey the law of energy conservation. So so there are many uncertainties between people, between demographic background. For example, I think all of us have been once been living in Europe, right? We all remember perhaps how it's very difficult to find a white light bulb in Europe. Yes or no? I try many times. I cannot find a single white high CCT light bulb for home usage. Also in the office, if you see the linear tubes, either it's TL or LED, but it's all yellow. There are no white, even in the interior space, white and yellow in different times, but we don't see it. At least most of the time we just see the yellow anywhere, right? Because it gives a warmer perception, perhaps, as the color is warm, so the thermal perception also getting warmer, while Europe is very cold. I don't know. So while in Indonesia or also in India, I've been in India 2 times, by the way, Dr. Amarjit. I see all white lights everywhere. So yeah, so it has some. So I say for sure that yes, we have to interchange between white and yellow all the time. Doesn't have to be. Yes, if it works for you, then it's good. Please continue. But if not, then it's not harmful either. But anyway, I've been told a story when I did my PhD in the Netherlands. One of our colleagues actually works with the Dutch national team, sport team, something like that. So he's the advisor for the national team, particularly for those athletes who had to go in a long trip, for example, to the US or to Asia, and then they experience jet lag. You know, jet lag is a very serious issue for athletes. If athletes perceive a jet lag, then they cannot perform very well. So in order to reduce the jet lag, or my colleague actually uses a so-called white, like a light box, light panel box, big one, very white, a bluish white, place maybe 30 centimeters, half a meter from the athletes for half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, something. And then eventually the circadian rhythm will go back, because it's the problem of the shift of the circadian rhythm, right? And it's been tested with mice and everything, with mammals. It's not only in human. Circadian rhythm can shift if we don't receive enough light. So to put it back, see, this guy actually gives the light therapy to shift the rhythms back, and
Okay,
it's been proven. Yeah.
Pak Rizky,
But
wait
I'm
a
not
moment.
sure if it's
No, it's okay.
valid
Pak
for
Rizky.
all people.
Yeah, actually, Pak Rizky, you are very famous among all of our students because many of our students read your publications and research. This is why we actually invite you actually at this time.
But
Pak
that's not
Rizky,
part of my publication.
Pak Rizky, I would like to hear more. Maybe this is just on the additional, yeah. Maybe I would like to hear more. What is actually the relations, the theoretical background, yeah, or maybe the relations between this color and the color perspective and the psychological aspect. Actually, how it relates on the theoretical background. Can you maybe share a little bit on that, Pak Rizky? Thank you.
The relation between color and psychological response.
The perspective of the color and also the psychological aspect. How it's related, if you explain it into the building physics theory, yeah, that's the question.
There's no theory about that. There's no theory about
There's
that.
no theory, okay.
Because we
So
study
it's
building
totally
physics, not
perception,
building
yeah.
psychology. No, sorry, I'm kidding. But there has to be some findings out there, some studies out there. But again, I would say that there are a lot of uncertainties. If you test with different cultural backgrounds, Asian people, European people, American people, can be very different. Our expectation, for example, we have white light throughout our life. So yeah, we like white light. Maybe also Indian like white light, I suppose. But European don't like. It's nothing wrong.
White bulb.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Pak Rizky. Maybe I would like to have one more questions from the audience. I will select first. Okay, I will just take the short one. This is coming from Bapak Joko Priyono Santoso from Jakarta. This is for Mr. Amar. Just a very short one, Pak Amar, because I still have the last questions to both of you. The reason why you chose red color for gasoline project as fire, what is that? Because as he pointed out, this is quite scary. Thank you,
No,
Pak
I think
Amar.
it's, see, the brand of Cepsa was red. So the lighting designer wanted to create that brand image. So they used that red color because of the brand image, no more than anything else. So, I mean, it's like Ferrari. Ferrari is, what's the brand color? Red. So would you ever see a Ferrari which is blue in color, lighting? No. Ferrari is associated with red. So Cepsa as the brand was red. So it may be scary. You find it scary, but somebody else find red something really nice, passion. So again, color is a very personal thing. So that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you so much. That's short, Pak Amar. So before we end this webinar, I still have one question to both of you, but this should be like one main questions, but it will be divided into two things. The questions is how should we respond the sustainability of lighting design? For Pak Amar is concerning the industrial globally, and maybe to Pak Rizky to academic globally. That's the two questions that I need both of you to address it. It's okay, take your time because I will read first the announcement for the audience. Yeah? Okay. So everybody, I have a very important message here about the audience and also the one who have the questions and very lucky for this session. So thank you for your contributions to the webinars Build It Green Series 12, Department of Architecture, FTUI, Lighting and Sustainability. We would like to say congratulations to the selected participants. The list of the best of the questions by participants are: the first one is Alvin Nugraha Pratama from South Tangerang. The second one, JM Joko Priyono Santoso from Jakarta. The third one, Zaki AM from Bandung. And the fourth one, Budi Janto Chandra from Jakarta. So please write down some information in the following format: name, phone number, addresses, including district, subdistrict, and postcode, postal code, because we will give you a little bit sustainable gift to all these fortunate questioner. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, that's the announcement. So I will turn back again to the questions. This is the very important question. So if you can answer these questions, Pak Rizky and Pak Amar, then you pass this assignment. Yeah, sorry, no, I'm just kidding. Yeah, please, maybe Pak Amar can start.
Now, sustainability should be a form of living, I would say, to be incorporated into your design. So just like how sustainability should come as a part of the design process, it should not come as an afterthought. Where you design the building, then you said, oh, I need to make my building sustainable now. No, sustainability should be a part of your concept. Just like how you say, I need a firm foundation for my building, you have to also say that sustainability is going to be like my foundation stone as to how my building is going to be coming up. So that way, when you say my building is sustainable, you are careful, take care of the embodied energy of the building. The materials are locally sourced. The orientation of building is with the climate. So if you're building a building in Java on the south side of the equator, you understand what the sun movement will be, and you design your orientation that way. When you're on the north side of the equator, you design your orientation that way. And then also the usage patterns. How, as I mentioned about, what are the users, what are their activities, try to map them and try to see how with your design you can make it really very sustainable. By sustainable meaning, if the person has got to be driving from somewhere one to B, make sure that the person is designed in such a way that he doesn't have to drive, take a car. Person could actually walk. So Parisky in his presentation mentioned the person has to go to the airport. The end result is airport. But what should be, as a designer, what you should do is make the journey from the home to the airport very beautiful. Make it very sustainable. So who knows, if you're an urban designer, you design the whole road which has got so many beautiful trees, so that the entire road from the air is a lot of greenery. The person feels great. The car that the person takes, it's not a fuel car, it's an electric car. So that's a very sustainable way of going from one place to another. So that way, as an architect, you cannot change the destination, you cannot home, but you can make that journey from A to B a lot more meaningful. So that's what I would say as a sustainability, is to make that whole journey of the user using that place a lot more meaningful, very useful, which is healthy. The person feels healthy emotionally, is feeling healthy physically, is feeling healthy mentally and spiritually. So that's my answer for what a sustainable design would be.
Okay, thank you so much. It's very condensed. Okay, now I would like to address the second opportunity to Pak Rizky. Please, Pak Rizky, maybe you would like to relate this also to the academic globally in Indonesia. Thank you, Pak.
Okay. Yes, so I think more or less similar idea with Dr. Amadip. I think the world today is becoming more and more compact, integrated, borderless, and all of those things. Yeah? So from the academic point of view, I think we also need to reflect this on our way in delivering our courses, our lectures, and so to say, in a way that our students, our future architects, future engineers, future designers can appreciate this since the very early stage of their careers. For example, in a very practical way, we can start thinking about designing interdisciplinary projects, mechanical engineering, for example, electrical engineering, information system, very important now. Even mathematics, physics, interior designers, even psychology, and things like that. in order to solve same problem. For example, refurbishing an existing building, for example, in UE campus or whatever. It's very interesting, and we will see how they interact with each other. And it is very a good way to emulate or simulate what will happen in reality once they actually come to the real world, to the real world, to the real situation in their professional works. And also it will help between the departments, lowering the barrier, the egos between departments, or stuff still happen in the ivory tower. So yes, I think we have to embrace this trend, start to collaborate, make interdisciplinary projects in order to achieve, because sustainability cannot be achieved by one. There is no Superman or Thanos that can solve all of his problem by himself. So yes, I think we have to collaborate more. That's the main
integration
thing.
part. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Pak Rizky, once again for concerning these ideas. Also, yeah, nobody can fit all of our needs right at the same time, but we need to elaborate. We need to integrate. That's the point. Again, thank you so much, Pak Rizky. Also, thank you so much, Pak Amar, for this very insightful discussion this morning. And also, thank you so much, Pak Danang, to give us the complementary information. What is actually the relationship in Indonesian professional field? Yeah. Okay, then I would like to read the conclusions from our discussions of today. Yeah. So today we already have like 2 hours discussions, which is very, very tough, I can see, but very important because we are also combining these 2 multidisciplines issues between the architecture and also the field of engineering stuff, from the electricity, and also a lot of physical things that we discussed today. I hope to all of you gain more information, gain more knowledge about lighting and sustainability. So for the conclusions for today, the speaker number 1, Mr. Amardeep Dugar, PhD. The designers are designing experiential, sustainable lighting, not only spatial. This is a designer's responsibility to strive for a bright and bright future, not merely about aesthetics. Sustainability concept is changing from ecology, economy, and equity that focus on energy saving to a slow design that include health and social cultural performance, which has 3 factors comprising ecology, entity, and urbanity. For the speaker number 2, Dr. Rizky Armanto Mangkuto, IBM, sustainable lighting is a lighting design that is achieved through a performance-based approach with the respect to visual performance and comfort, and health performance and energy performance. Understanding our visual ability as the observer and the characteristic of the object is very important. Both should be examined simultaneously through the performance-based approach. Performance-based approach needs systematic thinking between the input, architecture parameter of the model, and the output, energy consumption, illuminance, what we want to assess, and should be wrapped up in a good collaborations. So from the panelists, Mr. Agus Danang Ismoyo, MILD, HTII, human being is a part of sustainable lighting that should include the people itself. Sustainable lighting means that we can control the artificial light and mimicking the natural light. Therefore, and in the end, we can save energy by reducing the power that mimic to control the artificial light. As a wrap up, designers need to conduct deeper understanding and continuous study of performance-based design while considering the aspect of culture, environment, and of the future of sustainable lighting. So that's all for today. Thank you so much once again to all of you for every insights, for every critics that we have. Thank you for participating in Big Webinar Series 12. Do not hesitate to give us any feedback. You can give us any feedback by typing it into this link. Again, we would like to thank our sponsorship for the Central Light, also Signify, and also for our supporter, the Pavilion 95, and also Green Building Council Indonesia. Big applause to all of us. Yeah. You can also follow us in our social media platforms. We have Instagram, we have also YouTube channel, and we have also Facebook. Yeah. Thank you so much. Now at the
Thank you.
last thing, we can have the photo session. Yeah. Pak Rizky, Pak Danang, and Pak Amardip. And I would like to invite to all of our committee. Yeah, we have 4 divisions actually, Pak Amar and Pak Rizky. The first one, we have material issues. The second one, we have marketing issues. The third one, we have proposal. And the last one, we have technical. So these are, some of them are young lecturer and some of them are the students. So we try to collaborate to, in the middle of pandemic, try to give something that is very useful to everybody. That's the point actually. Yeah.
We don't see their faces.
Yeah. Where's your faces, Intan, Hervira, and Feli? They will. Don't worry. Okay. Yeah. Intan and Inka and also Laksi, can you show your faces as well? Okay.
They
Inka?
don't like lighting.
They need to be in dark. Okay, yeah. Okay, we will take 2 pictures. The first one with normal picture, yeah. Okay, 1, smile, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second, wait, one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the second one, could you have the filter on your picture because we are celebrating our first anniversary? Do you know how to use it? No, right? Yes. You can check anything. Maybe I would like to choose this one. Okay. Can you choose one of them?
No.
What's
Amar,
the
can
filter?
Okay.
Where is the filter?
You choose the stop video and then if it's just the same when you're doing the change virtual background, but instead change virtual background, you choose video filter. Rizky, do you know how to do it?
Yeah, I'm looking. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, I'm getting background and filters.
Yeah. Choose video filter, then you can choose anything.
Yes. I see that.
I cannot do that.
Why?
Maybe
You don't have it?
My computer is.
Now you see? Now you see filter?
Okay. I didn't see. Inka, can you do that, Inka? No, the same. maybe.
My filter?
Okay, no, it's okay.
It's cool, Amar.
Okay, yeah. I will count into 3, then we will say happy birthday. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, okay.
Bye-bye.
Once again, thank you so much to all of you. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good day.
Terima kasih.